Hello, this is wmpyr, here to talk about Filipino martial arts, Kali, Escrima, Arnis in particular, and cross training in boxing. Okay, so um, I wish I knew the timeline. I don't know when this started happening, but I think this is a really big part of the evolution in Filipino martial arts in modern times. Now, um, boxing, I have a feeling, influenced Filipino martial arts way back when. I'm talking about maybe in the 30s or maybe before that, but I don't know exactly about that. And times have changed a lot since then. But I'm talking about in more recent times. You see people who train in Kali, Eskrima, and Arnis cross training in boxing, in Western boxing, and I think that is huge, a really big deal. And I want to go into why I think so. Now, I'm not talking about like because of someone like Manny Pacquiao. Because of him, now the Filipinos are cross training. I'm talking about before that. All right. I don't remember when exactly, but you could see on YouTube, you could find videos of Filipino martial arts people in the Philippines. That they're normally stick and knife people, but you also see them with the focus mitts, and they're training like boxing type stuff. Okay, so yeah, I once again I wish I knew the timeline of when that started becoming more and more popular. Now, some schools may have done it way, way, way before that. Okay, like I said, since the 1930s or maybe before that. But I'm just talking about more as a recent phenomenon, right? And more recently, after the cross training with boxing, now we're starting to see people cross train in MMA. So you're talking about like basic Brazilian jiu-jitsu type stuff, which once again, I think that's great. But let me focus in today's video on the boxing aspect, okay? Why I think it's great and what you guys should be doing. Okay, so first of all, this evolution to me, because there's plenty of people that do Filipino martial arts like Kali, Eskrima, Arnis, and that's all they do. They do not cross-train. But the way it was introduced to me it was definitely an art, a style that was meant to be put together with other styles. And that was one of the things that I liked so much about Kali, Eskrima, Arnis, this Filipino martial art. I liked it so much because they were pretty much like, this style right here that we're going to teach you is intended. The purpose is to mix it with other styles. So if you do Taekwondo, mix it up. Do both Taekwondo and Filipino martial arts. If you do Aikido, mix it. Kempo, whatever it is you do, mix it together. Please add it to your style. That's how it was introduced to me, and that's pretty much how I teach it. And to me, that was great. That was refreshing, because so many other styles are like, no, our style is better. No, my style is better. Your style sucks. They're doing that, whereas this style, the Filipino martial arts style, was like, hey man, it's all good. Mix it together. That was just, man, that won me over right away. I was like, man, this style is awesome. So, that's the way that not everybody teaches it that way, but it was taught to me that way. So I teach it to people that way. Now, boxing is very special. It's a special choice. You could mix it with Wing Chun or any other style, but boxing is very special because boxing is full contact. And yes, it is a sport. Yes, it is limited to the hands, but it's still full contact. So that aspect really is extremely valuable. And when you look at Eskrima, Kali, Arnis, a lot of the stuff that we do is with the hands. So Yes, there is some kicking. I was taught a very small amount of kicking. Um, and you could mix it with kicking styles. It would work great with Taekwondo because it's almost like we don't we're lacking in the kicking department, and Taekwondo is lacking in the hands department. So it would just, hey, you're missing this, I'm missing that. It's gonna work well together. So you know you could view it that way. But with boxing, because they are all hands, and Kali Escrima Arnis focuses on the hands, it kind of like, yeah, we both do hands, so it works great in that regard. So it works great in a different way. And when you put that together, now you're having two different views of using the hands in combat. So you're having a weapons perspective, and now you're also having this empty hand, full contact perspective, which is great. Once again, the more different perspectives you have, I feel like it definitely benefits you to help see reality. You don't want to be so arrogant that you have one view and you look at it and you go, yeah, I know what that's all about. I know combat. It's like, you only have one view, dude, you know? So if you could look at it from different points of views, your understanding of reality becomes better. It becomes more realistic because you could see it from all different sides. So that's why perspectives is very important. It's important to cross-train. It's important to have an open mind so that you could have a more realistic point of view. That being said, it's difficult. It's difficult because that means you have to study more than one style. You have to be able to organize and keep everything in track. If not, all this stuff it's too much information overload, and you could get confused. So it's definitely not a good idea for beginners. And yeah, it can be confusing. So it's not a good idea. In real life situation, you definitely don't want to be confused. You definitely don't want to have a lot of options, a lot of different ways to do things, and you go, well, what do I do? What do I do? And time is of the essence. I mean, this is, in a real life situation, stuff's going to happen fast. So that can be very, very bad. But once again, if you're able to handle all that, it's better to have multiple perspectives. It's definitely the superior warrior has multiple perspectives. So cross-training in boxing, what should you be doing? Well, the closer you train like an actual boxer, in a way it's better because you want to be legit. You don't want to be a pretend boxer. You want to be the real thing. Just like you don't want to be a pretend Escrima guy. You want to be a real Escrima guy, you know? So the more closer you do actual training like a boxer, the better. Now, that being said, though, we don't need to become a pro boxer. We don't need to risk brain damage, organ damage, get injuries. We don't need to do that, you know? Crooked nose, loose teeth. We don't need to have those kinds of problems, okay? So, that being said, as much as possible. Trying to be safe, but as much as possible. So definitely, I don't know about normal boxing, but like for Muay Thai kickboxing, I would say a minimum of 3 miles a day you should be running, okay? So when you are going to start cross-training in kickboxing, boxing, I would think a minimum of 3 miles a day. If you can't do that, you know, of course, everybody's at different athletic levels. So you want to aim for that as much as you can. You know, maybe it's not even a mile. Maybe it's just half a mile. Maybe at the beginning you just have to walk it. That's fine. Get towards that. But that gives you a goal, and it also lets you understand where you are. So when you watch something like a Mike Tyson fight, you go, yeah, man, he looks really good. But your brain doesn't really understand what level of athlete that guy is that you're watching on the screen, what it takes to become something like that for real. Most people have no idea what it takes to become a professional boxer. I'm not even talking about famous, legendary like Mike Tyson. I'm just talking about a regular professional boxer that you never heard this guy's name before. Just to become that, people have no idea what that takes. Or if you're talking about someone that is a collegiate level wrestler, the average person has zero idea of how much athleticism it takes, what's the physicality, the mental determination, the drive, the sacrifice, all that kind of stuff. People don't get it, It's not for everyone, for sure. I mean, these are elite athletes that you're watching. So by doing cross-training in boxing and running at least 3 miles a day, probably for a professional Muay Thai fighter, it's 6 miles a day. And that's in the morning before your workout starts, So you got a whole workout ahead of you, but you got to do that 6 miles, So, but for our case, for solo training, I'd say aim for the 3 miles a day, and that should kind of like give you an idea of where you're at. So hopefully after that, if you're doing 1 mile once a week, you're not acting and opening your mouth and typing online, oh, I'm a boxer and this and that. You're not doing that because you go, wait a minute, I only do 1 mile a week. That's not even close. So hopefully it puts things in perspective. You're not trying to put yourself down. You're saying, I do this, and that ranks me. You know where you stand. Not to overestimate yourself or underestimate yourself. Just to realistically view, where are you in terms of boxing or kickboxing or whatnot. Something where we can measure you, So another thing is the crunches, the sit-ups, neck exercises. These are all things that you should be doing. And then working on the punching bag. There's different types of punching bags that a boxer works on. So the more of those that you have, the more that you work on, once again, you get closer and closer to a real life boxer, and that's better. Now, as far as like techniques go and stuff, I mean, in boxing, it's pretty much, you start off with 5 punches, right? Jab, cross, hook, uppercut, and overhand, but it goes real deep from there. And there's strategies, and there's, boxing in the pocket. There's boxing outside. And, there's different styles, defensive styles. There's offensive styles. There's all kinds of different methods. Even a jab, there's many different ways to throw a jab. So there's not just one right or wrong. The more you study, the deeper and deeper it gets. So that's all good technically, right? But it doesn't matter if you have a million moves. What we're looking for is you want to be combat ready. So we want to be able to use it. So I don't care if you only have one good move from boxing. If you could use it legit, that's what's important. And that's also going to help you with your knife and with your stick fighting. So, that's what we're looking for. And the training that boxing brings, of course, solo training, you can't spar because you're solo. But now what I'm asking you guys to do is to move dynamically. So you're circling, you're practicing your footwork, and you're moving around in a little bit of space, and you're pumping out that jab. And then you're also, practicing your defense, head movement, footwork, and you're constantly throwing that jab, pa, 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 pa. So by doing that, you're putting it together. And you're getting closer and closer to combat ready. And that, learning that kind of stuff, just experiencing that, then you go, oh, I got to do the same thing with Escrima. So now with Escrima, you got to start moving around dynamically, and you got to start swinging that stick, pa, 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 or the knife. It doesn't matter. Or do both. I recommend both. And as you do that, you're going to see cardio is important. Cardio is important. It doesn't matter what age you are. The more cardio you have, the better. The more fit you are, the better. So, don't let any of this stuff be an excuse. Oh, I'm old. I'm this, whatever. My knees are bad. Well, I mean, this is a great opportunity for you to start exercising, get the blood flowing. Don't do anything to hurt yourself, but actually to strengthen and heal yourself. So for a lot of people, if your hips and your knees and your neck, all these things are starting to, go bad because of your lifestyle, you're just seated all the time in front of the computer screen or at job or whatever. So we want to be able to start moving around and get this exercise. And at the same time, you're learning some good self-defense skills that's taking you closer and closer to combat ready, which means the technique right now is in research stage where you're learning stuff. It's research. Of course, we have research and development. So as you're doing more of a boxing type of training, you're getting closer to development. That's what you're developing, those techniques. So you learn the techniques, you practice the techniques, you memorize the techniques. That's all in research. And now you want to develop those techniques where now you go, okay, I can throw the jab. Now, can I throw the jab while I'm ducking, while I'm evading? Can I throw that jab, while I'm bringing the lead foot back in case they're trying to kick me in the leg or they're trying to cut me in the knee? So can I do that? Now, as you practice that in real time, like a real speed, now you're getting closer to, once again, combat ready. And that's exactly the type of training that boxing, I'm not saying boxing does it and Escrima doesn't. I'm saying boxing is so focused on performance because they compete, period. They gotta be able to perform it. So boxing really, really focuses on that so much more. And that kind of mentality, that kind of viewpoint for the training, once again, different perspectives can really help you out, kind of thing. So that can super benefit your Escrima, Kali, and Arnis. So I highly recommend it. Don't fall behind the curve. Don't go, well, what they do is sport and what I do is street. That's a cheap, lame excuse, okay? And find a way to benefit from boxing. Look at boxing and go, I can benefit from that. Why? Because, I have a good mind. I have the mind that I can benefit from anything. And there's definitely lots of good stuff to benefit from boxing, from a practical combat point of view. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing and take care, folks.